We are here with Dr. Julie Gerner. I've known you for a couple of years now. We've had conversations. I think it's such a critical time to have a new one because of everything happening with AI. I want you to know, whoever's listening, that Dr. Gerner's newsletter is the only newsletter that I pay for. It's called Ultra Successful. Do you want to go into that a little bit, Dr. Gerner? Why you started, what you share, who it's for?
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure speaking with you always. As you've said, we've talked off platform before. I think you're wonderful. We have a great rapport, and I'm glad to be back today. The Ultra Successful newsletter was started because I do have a coaching practice where I do performance coaching with the top 0.01%. So people who are leading industries globally. I have a lot of demand. I'm only one person. And so I distill a lot of the insights that I learn from how those people operate who are elite in their space and distill it down for actionable takeaways that people in any stage of their career can really use to become better, more effective, and hopefully skip steps on the way they're moving forward.
I'm going to put the link to that in the description. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. If a small business owner is listening, even if they're usually positive, optimistic, they may feel like they're behind. They may feel like they don't know what's going to happen, which at the end of the day, like Dario said in that letter, nobody knows what's going to happen for certain. What do you see is a difference the top 1% may be thinking about AI versus other people that you come across?
I think you make a really good point that there's a really big disparity between what people fear about AI who are kind of watching from the stands and the people who are operating top 1% companies. And the biggest thing that I see with those top 1% operators is experimentation. They are learning about AI. They are self-teaching. They're spending their weekends or evenings like playing around with it, seeing what they can do. And so I really encourage everybody out there. You may feel like a total noob, right? You don't know anything about this. If you're at a certain point in your career, it's probably because you've learned a lot of things along the way. This may be one of the more important things that you self-teach and you learn to make sure your business and your career remains relevant and that you continue to move forward in your job or in your company. One of the things I know people are looking for are individuals who are AI fluent and use it as a part of their job to multiply their impact in companies. If you're concerned about your job, concerned about the relevance of your job, the best thing that you can do is really learn AI, become really proficient in it. And if you happen to lose this role or another opportunity presents itself, you're already head and shoulders above others if you're able to demonstrate competency there. You're going to look light years ahead.
One of the decisions that I've personally made in the last 24 months was I left a lot of short-term money on the table because I needed to reserve time to learn AI
Mm.
and to then disseminate it to my clients and to do educational videos about it because I had this gut instinct that it was the right thing to do, not just for my business personally, but to help other people learn. What would you say to someone who is time pressed? They want to stay focused, but at the same time, these things do require time. You can't outsource how to learn. How does someone know what to give up today to make space for something? Because it's a risk.
Yeah.
I left a lot of money on the table, and someone could argue, well, that was stupid. You should have just taken the cash. But I really think long term, it will be the right decision.
I agree. You make such a great point because it's all about trade-offs. One of the trade-offs that people have to think about is what kind of sources of information do you follow to make sure that you are getting the next level cutting edge thing. You bringing AI to your clients and to the people who watch and listen to you is already doing them an incredible service. If someone is a regular listener of yours, maybe understanding that like, hey, watching things like this will continue to put me ahead. Whereas maybe some of the silly things that I watch or some of maybe the social media time I spend may be less productive unless you're in certain circles where, you're getting updates on what people on those platforms are doing. But really understanding what to prioritize to keep your career moving forward and who you listen to and what you're listening to. And if you're bringing AI to people 24 months ago, and to your clients, that's someone who's clearly ahead of the curve. In a world with limited time, you have to think about what's going to both give you space and save you some of that time to be able to experiment and help you think about how you can utilize this in your business or even with yourself. It's really being very mindful of the time that you waste so that you can spend some time learning more about where to experiment and maybe start building.
One of the things that is for sure, whether people realize it or not, we are in or entering uncertain times.
Sure.
The CEO of Anthropic just said this, and other leaders in AI. And in times of uncertainty, I really believe that having everything that you teach about in Ultra Successful the right type of mindset, focusing on maximizing your potential, becoming a leader. It's kind of like being thrown in the ocean. The people are going to follow the best swimmer.
I agree.
And if you're not those best swimmers, then you won't help people during these uncertain times, and people will be looking for leaders to lead, especially as AI advances within the next 24 months. What are the 3 skills that people should really double down on that can prepare them to thrive in times of uncertainty?
So I think the headline to this is that the key to uncertainty is preparedness, right? Like you will never feel more capable than if you are prepared for no matter what comes. So if AI has an impact, if it doesn't have an impact, preparedness should be like your word of 2026. And that means the skills that go under that are I'm going to be a self-learner, an autodidactic person. For 2026, that maybe you've been in a position where you've got a lot of expertise and you've been able to leverage that for a long time. Time to be a beginner again and start playing around and be an autodidactic person. Being autodidactic and actively learning, I think if you're a leader, you are also creating other people in your company and kind of encouraging them and giving them space to learn. I think that if you're in a company where you lead a team or you lead a company, you should be making sure that they are also using these tools and understanding that comes with a lot of fear. Some people believe that they're really creating tools that outsource their job or that somehow they're not going to be relevant, but you will never be more relevant than your mastery of a new emerging skill that makes you 10 times more effective in the company that you're in. People appreciate that. They love that. It makes you head and shoulders above others. Your own experimentation and learning, making sure that you're pushing that learning onto others and you make that kind of an ethic in the company. I think that's incredibly important. You reward that and you reward people trying and failing. It's okay. You're not going to be an expert. A lot of your tools are going to look really silly at first and they might not always work, and that's okay. So you just keep trying and bumbling around and making sure that people have the competency. And if you need to, as a company, you stand behind it and you maybe pay for them to subscribe to some of these tools or maybe subscribe. I have a couple of clients who have sent some of their engineers or others to like boot camps to learn more about some of these or going to conferences where they can learn more. Put some money behind it, show that you care about it. And I think that the other thing is really being open, right? You're not going to be able to predict what's coming next, but the best thing to do when there is kind of the fog of war is to know the next step that you're taking. And you just kind of take the next step and the next step and being open to kind of reading the room, reading the landscape, being able to be flexible. And I think that that really provides a lot of resilience. If you are dug in that we are only going to do this one thing in this one way, and then the landscape changes, you don't build in the kind of fluency and that you need to have to be able to quickly adapt to maybe a change that happens. So you always want to kind of have that adaptability. Adaptability will be huge, and making sure that your company as well as yourself and your team are all people who are willing to be open, learn, and do those types of things. To me, preparedness is always the remedy. I think in times of anxiety, there are a number of people who rush to avoidance. Oh, I'm not gonna, and
Mhm.
they tell themselves a lot of messages. Ah, that's
Like, "Oh, never gonna replace humans." It's like, "It's replacing humans now."
I think it's either denial, right? It'll never replace humans. I think the other thing around avoidance is this is all too complicated. I'll never
Mm.
understand it. I'll just hire someone to understand it. That is going to be the wrong approach. You better understand it yourself if you're a leader. I have people leading billion-dollar companies who are spending time in the evenings playing around with AI when they can.
That's why they lead billion-dollar companies.
That's true, but they understand this stuff, and it's not that they don't hire experts, it's not that they don't pay millions of dollars a year for people who are AI experts, it's that they know that to be effective as a leader with emerging technology, that you've got to know some of it yourself. You may not be the best expert in the company, but you should certainly understand it enough to have fluency, be able to discuss it, understand what's happening. It also is a great example to those you lead.
I love how you said preparedness because the other day I like sent a video to a client of mine. It was about Claude Cowork. Like
Mm,
when that came out,
yeah.
she's like, "This stuff is getting so good. Aren't you scared? Like, isn't this scary to you?" Yes, it is. But at the same time, how you're saying, if I'm going to go into a war, if I'm going to go into a new territory that's never been seen before, I want to know at least a little bit of what's coming and be able to identify certain things and be as prepared as possible. If I have to be thrown in the ocean, I want to learn how to swim.
Yes.
I want to learn how to turn wood into a raft because I'm giving myself the best chance of success, not just for myself, but the people that I care about. So that's the way that I see it. And it became non-optional for me. I literally made space for hours a day to learn. It could be intimidating. You hear a lot of these coders and stuff talk about AI, and you're like, what is this? But it's like you said, you almost have to treat being a beginner again as exciting
Yeah.
and just start with one thing at a time.
It's also a really great green light as to who is leading in their field. So the fact that like you are spending time, you noted the trend early, you saw the potential early, and you said no to money because you understood that
Ah,
understanding this, it's an investment in your future of a different sort. It's putting the quick money aside for the future opportunities that you see that you'll be able to provide, not just for yourself, but for other people. And I think it's also doing a great service to the community to be somebody who is not afraid to say, "Hey, I had to learn this stuff too." And you could probably hire out people who do X, Y, and Z, but instead you spent the time and you became a beginner and studied it yourself and, just tried some things. So I think it's a great model.
what was the moment for you with AI so far that you're like, "Oh, it has progressed?" Because 'Cause I've had moments where I tried to do a thing 2 years ago and I was like, "Okay, it's still like a baby." And then this year I tried to do a thing with a similar software and I'm like, "Wow, it has progressed probably 10 years in 2 years."
Yeah, so I can tell you both personally, and then I think my wow moments usually come through client work. So personally,
Okay.
I'm always somebody who's very hands-on and likes to do my own things around like, websites, etc. So I'm in the process right now of thinking about different website design and those types of things. And, in an evening, you can easily have an incredible website designed with everything that you might want. It's incredible what you can do, and it looks what you would normally have paid $40,000 for in the past,
Yeah.
right?
7 years ago, that would have taken $50,000
Yes.
and 7 weeks just to get the first draft.
Yes, and you can do it in an evening. When I see it with clients, the thing that blows my mind, in fact, just last week, I had a client who was thinking about subscribing to a very large piece of software that people subscribe to for a couple $100,000 a year. And instead, he spent the weekend, put something together. His company no longer needs it. It's incredible because it does everything that they may want it to do. It allows for various people in the company to interact with it, made it personalized and customized exactly to their workflow, and so much more efficient than if they would have bought the very expensive out of the box software that people would buy for so much money every single year. They have something that works better, is more effective, more tailored, includes more variables, and is frankly more straightforward and easy to use. So
Yeah, and their team will use it.
absolutely no big onboarding. It was just really amazing that you could even get a software that you like even just say you like Trello and putting boards together for tasks. You can create a version of that that works really well for your team, and it really shows you the power of like there are companies built on needing certain types of software. And if you are a company that develops software, thinking about what is the benefit that you can provide so that people are getting things that make them not want to go through the hassle of having to create something. I do think you can see how the cost of software will come down. You can see how the customization can happen so easily. And even with voice prompting now, where you can speak into AI and develop all of these things, it's just going to get better and better. So the best thing that you can have as a leader really in as you're playing around with these tools is clarity. Your clarity of what you want, clarity of vision, clarity of how you want something to work or flow, or mapping that out on a piece of paper. AI doesn't have to take away how you think. It can actually bring how you think to life in a completely new way. And that's true for even your greatest thinkers on your team. They may have ideas like, oh, I wish we could connect up engineering and product and sales in a way that's like unique and X, Y, and Z. And if they have a great vision for it, they can do it. What an incredible thing for your team to maybe have sales and marketing and product and all of it connected in this really interesting flow that's completely unique to your company or your needs. clarity and being able to formulate thoughts, as long as you're directing the tool and you're directing the I feel like it's not kind of taking from the human experience, but enhancing us. Where we
Yeah.
find that it's taking from us is when we start outsourcing our thinking to AI and we're like, hey, I don't know how to think about X, Y, or Z. And you do that routinely enough, then you
Mhm.
start becoming reliant on how the AI tool pulls together. But you could use it for analysis, you could use it for financial modeling, you could use it for so many things that you'd have to pay a contractor for or hire out. And now it just gives you hundreds of contractors right at your fingertip.
I don't think CEOs understand the leverage they have because if they learn how to at least use it and come up with even a, let's say, first draft model,
Yeah.
someone else could also build it better.
Yes.
But the thing that they have is they're not blind to what their customers actually need or how their team actually operates and what their team would be okay with using. They'll actually use this as one big button. There's zero complications. It's easy to find. And those are the things that make software more useful for a team in general. I created a little software thing that will help people optimize their LinkedIn profile.
Wow.
The only reason I know how to do that is because I sat across from like 2,000 people over the last 5 years doing it. And I know that, oh no, they wouldn't want it to look like this, or oh, they like this, or they may not see this little button in the right hand corner. Because I know my audience, I know what experience would be best for them.
So smart. That's such a great insight to bring to others who lead businesses is that if you experiment yourself, the one thing that you can't outsource is insight into your
Exactly.
customers and as well as you know them. Your tool, then what it does is it draws upon all of your experience, all of your insights, and you are able to clearly create something which then can make your customers and other people much more effective at what they do. I'll have to talk after this about this tool.
More CEOs should spend time just experimenting with
Yeah.
AI and allowing their teams to do it. Another thing that I see, and I would love your thought on this, is that a lot of companies are not taking the position and just calling out the elephant in the room. Like, hey, there's this AI stuff that's happening. I know you're probably worried about your job or you're thinking what's going to happen to the company in the next 12 to 18 months. Here's our thoughts, our letter, whatever. I don't think enough CEOs are even talking about that. And in that one paper I read on X, it was talking about the rising silent anxiety
Mhm.
of work, how they're afraid of AI. And I think if you're just not saying anything about it and only keeping that at the executive level, it could keep them in a state of fear that you don't want people to be in.
I agree. I mean, that's such a great call out. The CEOs not talking about it creates an uncertainty. The remedy for uncertainty is preparedness. So if you as a CEO have a perspective, and maybe it takes you some time to really think about a perspective that you want to share and socialize at the company, but if you're able to kind of put that into a memo so that your employees know here at Gerner Consulting, this is how we feel about AI. It
Right.
impacts where you use it and where you do not. For example, in my business, one of the rules that I have an assistant, and one of the things that executive assistant knows is that no emails that come from you will have AI. Because what I want to retain is a very personal touch with the clients that I have and with interfaces that we have with the public. But does he use AI for research? Absolutely. But there are places where we really highly value the human touch. And there are places where I want him to speed up the ability that he has to do his work and to work quickly. Understanding that at this company, this is how we think about AI, and this is how we think about the points where we will not use AI, where we feel like that's beneficial and not beneficial. I certainly also have made a deliberate choice around some of the things that I will not use AI for. I think that there's a lot to be said for being very deliberate and very clear and making sure that your employees have security as to how you think about it. It also can be a statement of how you look at the company into the future that, hey, we're all going to be learning this tool. It doesn't mean that you're out of a job. One of the things that Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, said, which I thought was really fantastic, is that even though, the majority of his engineers are no longer kind of writing the code, AI writes the majority of it, and that many people's jobs in Anthropic will change with AI's sophistication. They are committed to finding other jobs within the company for these people to be able to do and to oversee as AI evolves. And that if people want to stay within Anthropic, there will be jobs for them to do. That's a really interesting thing, but if you worked at Anthropic, it would be very settling because you know that, hey, I'm developing technology that may put myself out of a job, but even if I do a brilliant job, my incentives are aligned. I'm not
Exactly.
incentivized to not do it. I'm incentivized.
Yeah, I'm not incentivized to sabotage the campaigns. We don't use it.
You want to align incentives. You want people to do great work. And if every person you have can become a 10 or 20 times employee, how amazing that is. And it's amazing for them too that they can leverage their creativity in ways that they couldn't previously. And it's up to you to give them that sense of assurance and to let them know where the company is headed. Otherwise, you just leave them guessing. When you leave people guessing, they often come to the wrong conclusions.
When you think of preparedness, war strategy, what could this market look like in 12 months? What offers could be commoditized
Mm.
by AI, but also anticipating moves of the competitors to be one move ahead of them? What would you advise in that front and how to think?
When you think about preparedness in the future, you want to think about your own company. You want to understand the landscape. There's a lot of different philosophies in the kind of top 1% of companies. They think a lot, I think, sometimes on how do we become more of a, I don't want to say monopoly, right? Maybe that's a bad word to use, but like, how do we take more market share? How do we become more of a dominant player? They are thinking about how do you become more dominant because they understand their own points of leverage and they understand where other companies are weak and falling behind. And I think that you don't wanna be a company that has these kinda obvious points of easy market share takeover. We're finding that with AI, more things are concentrating. Even if you look at the stock market, you see very clearly how power is concentrating in a few stocks and companies. How do you wanna position yourself so that you are a leader in the next iteration of societal shift, development? How can you help everyone to win along the way? The people who work for you, if you're a publicly traded company, the shareholders that invest in you, you want everyone to win as you move forward. That's how you get people cheering you on and really rooting for you. You want to be the person that can uplift everyone along the way. If you're looking at this as a technology, is that companies that are lagging behind will fall further behind. I think the most dangerous thing is being comfortable. People say, well, we have a good business now, right? We're doing great now.
Right.
And so you get really comfortable and you're not really preparing for the next iteration. You don't want to be sending DVDs through the mail while someone's developing streaming. You have to be thinking, even if you have a great business and people love it and it's something families do on a Friday night, they go to Blockbuster. You don't want to be Blockbuster, who was aware of all of these other things coming and just kind of dug into their own model. You have to be flexible and be willing to say, okay, what's the next iteration? What's V2 of this company look like? And I think if you can ask yourself that question, you always have something you're striving to as that next level. And it should include technology. It should be ambitious and it should be a little audacious. And I wonder in your next quarterly retreat or corporate retreat, if you challenge people to say, what would the next version of this company, of our team, of our product, of our offerings, what would that look like? Like in your wildest dreams, what could we do? What would be amazing? Even if we can't do it or you don't think we can do it, and challenge people because if you can start to get an idea of that more and more, we may have the tools to make that happen.
It's incredible, even on the smallest scale.
Yeah.
What's something that you can do now, even internally, that could create a process easier? The little tool that I shared, I made that internally first. I was like, how
Amazing.
can I make our process into like 20 minutes? And then it got to the point where I'm like, oh, works pretty good. I could probably release this. Just
Great.
creating tool internally, but it was a challenge. The other thing is, what advice would you give? Because there's a lot of people that are selling their businesses now that made them the money. They really can do anything. So they're sitting on money. Okay, what do I do next? How does someone know what to go all in on next if they have a lot of options on the table and it's almost like a blank slate?
That's a really great question. It's an interesting question now, but it has always been to me an interesting question because it's so individual. And when you have the resources, oftentimes for people's second act, they get involved either in a statistics would show you that they end up getting involved in another business because
Yeah.
it's so much a part of
Oh
life.
no, these people want to start another business. They just don't know what business to start.
So there's that. Some people, though, that will direct it toward I have clients who've sold a business, they did fairly well, and they use that to fund the thing that they wanted to be their life's work, a big swing of sorts. Maybe it's a medical breakthrough. Sometimes people do that because it's a passion project, it's what they want. But when you're talking about where do you put the resources and where do you put your efforts given the current landscape, I think that's a different question. And you have to think very strategically about how much you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and future generations, and then how much you want to kind of move forward in businesses. Some say the predicted path forward is that we'll see a lot of white collar jobs that will shift in certain ways, and certainly SaaS products and software products and those types of things moving very quickly. Then we'll see, like people say, to invest in trades, things like HVAC, very physical services and plumbers and electricians and those types of businesses. And then there are folks who say there will always be things that people will want a human touch. Maybe it's an investment in things like PE firms buying veterinary services and things like that. So I think it's on you to do some research to really think about the future. Think about something that you genuinely are passionate about and can evolve with, and not just buy for a static, this is where I'm just going to plunk things. Because if you just want to do it for a static passive revenue, talk to a great experienced investor. But if you want to do something that will be something you're invested in, make sure that it's something that you're passionate about and you can put another 5, 10, 15 years in.
For the CEOs that you have seen really get their teams excited about AI or excited about the future, is the major difference the team sees them do it or sees them do something really cool with it? Is it just like constant communication, sending them updates?
The people who are really getting enthusiasm and buy-in, I see number one, they're modeling it. When they have an all hands, they're like, here's a tool I built this weekend. Warts and all, they'll be like, I was just playing around, but this is the stuff that I'm coming up with, the things I'm thinking about. And they reward it when others are doing it. They make it initiatives. They'll have times where everybody gets together and just builds stuff on a Saturday or maybe a Friday night where people will play around. You get what you incentivize and what you reward. And for people to know there's other fears that people don't talk about. If I'm able to do more work, will I just get more work to do? I
Mhm.
think people fear that. I think they also fear, if I do this, am I going to lose my job? If I do this, is my best friend going to lose their job? And then you see people who may really enjoy coding and feel a lot of pride in it, and they don't want to give it up. This is my craft, right?
Yeah.
And now, like, a computer's doing my craft and I'm just reviewing it or directing it. The CEOs who are moving this forward with enthusiasm, they model it, they reward it, but I think they do what you've talked about earlier, which is they proactively address some of the elephants in the room. They get excited about people's projects and they highlight them. Sally in engineering builds something really cool, giving it a shout out, having her show it to the rest of the group, rewarding her. So people get to see, oh, when we do this stuff, we're rewarded. Sometimes we get promoted. Sometimes these are the people who become leaders. You get what you reward, making sure all the incentives really line up for people. I had one guy who decided that, hey, if you can create an efficiency, I'll give you a bonus of 10% of the efficiency that you save. So if you save the company $1 million, you can get,
Everyone was like,
exactly. But, he made good on it, and he would actually give out, like, award checks. There's fun things that people can do that can really create value, and you can get people on board. Be creative with it. Don't be afraid of it. And I think the leadership always comes from the top on this stuff, and making sure that your executives are bought in. You may be really bought in, but they've gotta be bought in too, and making sure that it's like an ethic, the leadership team, not just with you.
For the people who feel like they are gonna lose their craft, let's say they just truly love coding, what would you say to that person? Because that person's identity is tied to that. And a lot of people are gonna inevitably go through this.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, wow, AI did what I could do in 10 minutes. And they may tell themselves a story about that. What advice would you give to that
I
person?
think this hits at a really big part of something that no one's really discussing, which is around identity and how we think about our own utility and usefulness and expertise, because that person on the back end may have spent 15 years learning their craft and being super proud of it, working really hard at it, staying up late at night, refining it. And now something can do what they do in what used to take a week to do in 15 minutes or in an hour or whatever it might be. I think that, like, your expertise is just used in a new way. We do see that AI is impacting the job market for those who are junior level. If you are junior level, your best bet is to be great with some of these tools so that you're much more attractive in the job market. But for those who have a really core identity around their coding and their skills refined over years, what we're seeing is that those are the people who are incredibly effective at being able to direct these tools properly and create something beautiful, meaningful, and impactful with them. Your craft may not be putting ingredients in the pie, but it doesn't mean that you don't understand the things that create the perfect pie. You're still going to be relied on to create the perfect pie. You're now just going to be able to create more of them, different ones, be able to use those skills differently. The story around my identity has to be me doing the coding can shift to I am somebody who is an engineer who creates great products through coding using different tools than I've used in the past. You've always used tools. These are just new tools. I don't think it has to shift your identity away just yet. But I also think that the stories we tell ourselves can't lock us into obsolescence, saying, yeah, I only drive horse and buggy. That's the only way I'm going to go. It's my only way that I'll have transportation. And then eventually you're invited someplace where it takes hours for a horse and buggy to go, and your neighbor has a car. You're going to start missing opportunities if you just dig into this one thing that you stay tied to. And it doesn't mean you can't keep a horse. It doesn't mean that you can't ride that horse periodically. And it doesn't mean that you can't do it for fun or because you love it. But what it does mean is you have to start getting fluent with your own evolution. And what does that mean for you? And getting really personal about that. What does your evolution mean? We talked about V2 for companies. What's your V2 look like as a person, as a professional, in your career, in your company? How do you see yourself? And being open to it. The hardest work we do is personal work. It always is true. In relationships, people don't want to change. When people are professionals, they can be really stubborn and don't want to change. The thing about the people who get to a certain point in their careers is that they're willing to be open to consider things and to change. And your job, no matter what it is, as you evolve, if you're a CEO or a founder, you know this, as you rise, your job is different every 6 months, and so are you. This is just everybody having to go on that journey in a very different way.
Sometimes the V2 of the business is not what you originally imagined, but
Yeah.
if you're going to be in your role as CEO, you have to do what's best for the business and what's best for the customers in that business. And you can't hold on to the original idea that you had for the business, or else the business could go under. Sometimes people attach themselves to, let's say, the coding example. Maybe part of it was the coding, but maybe the real thing was they were able to stick with something for 25 hours and build it, or the idea behind it.
Yeah.
When there was a nick in the system, because it fights back, they were able to communicate with the technology better and get over that resistance to the solution. There's a lot of things behind the thing as well that people don't give themselves credit for. And then how can those skills be applied in a different way? I saw a recent video of a NASCAR, not NASCAR, what's the Italian
F1?
racing? F1. So he's an F1 driver, I forget his name, but it showed him shooting. And he shot like he was John Wick because his no, his first time ever, but it's
Wow.
because his one reaction time and training is insane.
Wow.
So, like, those skills adapted to a new environment.
That's incredible. I think that one of the things you hit on is we are our greatest limiter. The way in which we think, but if we try things, we might be absolutely shocked at how competent, amazing, productive, and how much joy we might get from something that uses the great strengths we already have in a new way. We just haven't thought about it in a long time, and not allowing doubt, or sometimes people will give themselves excuses to kind of stay the same. You can do this at absolutely any age. Some of the authorities on AI, Jeffrey Hinton and others, are not young people, and they are completely up to date on technology. They know what's happening. They're very fluent that anybody can do this. And it's at a point where we're all learning together as a society. And if you are learning now, you're already ahead of a vast majority of people. And if your company's already starting to incorporate it, you're way ahead of many. There's a real hope, I think, to this message that you have the opportunity of a lifetime to get out ahead of it in 2026, personally, in your business, in your role with your employees. You can offer them amazing things, be the person who brings that knowledge back, and be careful where you're spending your time and be following the right people who are providing value to help you think about this world and expand you and stretch you a little bit differently. I can't imagine maybe some of the comments you got 24 months ago about AI. I bet that no one
Oh,
thought
yeah.
that it would be what it is today. You were clearly a leader there, I would be watching to say, what does this woman think is coming next? I should be paying attention here. And if it's X, there are some other people I might think, like Dario. I read whatever he writes because he leads an AI company. I'm going to be paying attention. But if you do that, you're going to be ahead of the people who are not paying attention, who are not learning, and you will also be evolving than other people. I appreciate the fact that you do things that are unpopular, that cost you money, just to keep those who are watching informed, and you dig into it when you believe in it. And I think that's an incredible trait.
I want the best for my audience. I specifically remember this one person. I was hosting a LinkedIn audio room on ChatGPT, and he gets to the stage and he's like, "Oh, I have 25 years in Google. This is just another phase. This is just another fad." And I was like, "You're wrong." And I challenged him on the
Wow.
stage. I'm going to tell you why I know you're wrong, because that was around the point where the voice first came out.
Mm.
Remember, I was teaching a class on like how to use the voice. Within 30 seconds, almost everyone in the class forgot I was there and was talking at GPT, and I was like, "Hello?" Like, I'm still right? But they were, like, entranced in it,
Yeah.
and from that moment, I was like, "Oh, this is something for real." Sometimes you just have to stand on what you believe in, but this conversation was great. Very useful conversation for anyone that wants to be prepared going into the age of AI. No one knows exactly what's gonna happen. The only thing is the more prepared you are, the more chance of success, and not just for you, for your team, for your family, for everyone that may be looking for the strongest swimmer when everyone's thrown in the ocean. You have a chance more than ever to become a leader and to lead people.
I agree, and I think that you've done a great job modeling that. I hope that those who are watching appreciate you, and that when you say the next unpopular thing that they pay attention and they take a few notes. It's absolutely fantastic. You're also on X, which I've really appreciated connecting with you there.
Yeah, follow Dr. Julie on X.
But I think that the conversations continue, right? There's a really unique opportunity to lead. I don't see a lot on LinkedIn that really dives into this in a way that is useful and gets people ahead of the curve. Oftentimes, you see people that jump on board once something is already pretty well known. I appreciate you always leading.
Thank you, Dr. Julie. And where do you want them to go to other than the newsletter? You have LinkedIn, you have X.
People can go to Ultra Successful on Substack or find me at Dr. Gerner on X.
You're not cool if you don't pay for Substack, okay?
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
everyone. Ciao.